I was impressed with that move you pulled. Bang.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, it's G, it's DMC, the undefeated, undisputed YouTube champion. That's right, it's the Maverick, Mark Daniels. Let's get one more spin on that bad boy. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. Anyways, this is the Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view review for 2017. I say 2017 like I said in my predictions because this could be an annual event. We don't know. Maybe they'll change up the song every year. Maybe it'll be the same exact thing every year. But I will say this, overall, I actually really liked the pay-per-view. A lot more than I thought I would. In the predictions, I even said that my excitement for the pay-per-view was pretty low. And it was throughout most of the night. You know, leading up to the pay-per-view, I wasn't really super excited. But as the show gone on, and I starting to get into some of the matches, I was looking forward to seeing what they did with Joe and Brock, and that, to me, maybe was a little on the disappointed side, but overall, though, I thought the show was great. And let's jump right into it. So actually, I didn't see the pre-show. Normally, I watch the pre-show matches, but I just didn't have time to catch it in time. I actually turned my TV on literally 2 minutes before the show started. So I missed Neville versus Tozawa, which Neville won, which I expected him to win. I think Tozawa will get a rematch. They showed a clip of Tozawa talking to Titus O'Neil during the show, and Titus said he's going to see what he can do about giving Tozawa a rematch. So I think we can definitely say, I think it's safe to say that we'll see these two again at SummerSlam, which I'm fine with. I think that's going to be a good match. Then we had Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins. This was a decent match. Bray won with a thumb to the eye and the Sister Abigail. It was a pretty standard match. I gave it 2 stars, and I do rate matches, and don't take them seriously. It's all opinions. You guys have your own opinions. These are mine. Don't take these stars seriously. I really, honestly, only use these as a reference to kind of how I grade the show overall. If I had a rate out of 5 or out of 10. So realistically, this match was below average for me. To me, average is 2.5. This is a little bit below average. These guys are definitely capable of more. I thought they could have brought more to the table, especially Rollins. It was a very standard match. Kind of surprised Bray Wyatt won. Very surprised, actually, because Bray Wyatt, as I mentioned in my predictions, he's the opposite of John Cena. He's a loser. He loses all the time. I would expect to see a rematch between these two, maybe at SummerSlam, keep the feud going. Seth Rollins ultimately wins the feud, and Bray continues losing. It's kind of my guess. Then Enzo and Cass. Enzo came out after a great video package, cut a great promo. Cass came out looking very generic, had this generic-sounding music. Honestly, I just wasn't buying into it. Now, I really do enjoy the storyline, and I do like Cass as a wrestler. Like, I think he's fine. I think he does an okay job. But the problem is, he was just missing something. I don't know what it was. When he walked down that ramp, he was just missing something, man. It was just bland. But I guess we'll see what happens. Obviously, Cass won pretty quickly. We'll see him again. Hopefully, I don't think Enzo's going to get another match with Cass. I think Cass is going to move on to maybe the Big Show. Maybe the Big Show comes down to Enzo's aid, and there'll be Big Show versus Cass, and then Cass gets the big win on the Big Show, kind of solidifying him as the next big guy coming up. Then we had Cesaro and Sheamus, definitely the first really good match on the show. I really enjoyed this match. Cesaro and Sheamus versus the Hardys in a 30-minute Iron Man match. This was a good match. I gave it 3.5 stars. I don't know if I mentioned this. I gave Enzo vs. Cass another 2 stars. It was below average, but it wasn't necessarily the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Cesaro and Sheamus versus the Hardys, 30-minute Iron Man match, 3.5 stars. You know, they started off with a bang right off the bat. They did a nice strategy. Cesaro distracted Matt Hardy. Sheamus got the bro kick on him right away, and they get the early pinfall. And that went out throughout the match. Cesaro and Sheamus kind of control most of the match, as you would expect in an Iron Man match. And then Hardy's got a couple pins here and there. And then it ended with Cesaro and Sheamus being up 4-3. Hardy Boys, Matt, I think it was either Matt or Jeff. I think it might have been Matt. Hit the twist of fate. I think it was Jeff, actually, on Cesaro. It was getting the pinfall with only just a few seconds left on the clock. 1, 2, timer went out. Fairly similar to what I mentioned in my predictions video. I thought Cesaro and Sheamus would win. I knew that it would be close. It's an Iron Man match. It usually is. And I figured that they would probably either be tied or that Cesaro and Sheamus would be up by 1. And then right at the last second, Hardy Boys missed out on that win because I do think Hardy's versus Cesaro and Sheamus one more time at SummerSlam, because ultimately, if they're not the ones going up against Cesaro and Sheamus, who else is there? There is nobody else. There's no other babyface tag teams. You have Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows that are their heels. You have the Revival, their heels. That's really the only tag teams left on Raw, because Goldust and R-Truth broke up, which they weren't even seen on the show today. You have the Mr. Raj. I guess at some point Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel could go for the tag team titles. Same could be said about Tozawa and Apollo, or Apollo and Titus, or however you want to mix that combination of for Titus Worldwide. And they would be considered baby faces, I think. But otherwise, there's no other tag teams really on the roster, so I don't know what else they would do. So Cesaro and Sheamus versus the Hardys kind of have to happen at SummerSlam. I don't know if it's going to be a specialty match, if it's going to be a ladder match, if it's going to be a TLC match. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But really good match, though. During this match, Matt got busted open at some point. I'm not sure if it was when him and Jeff went for the double T move off the turnbuckle, because after he landed, he was kind of holding his head, or if maybe it was like an elbow from Cesaro or something, but it looked nasty. There was a lot of blood on the show tonight, actually. Kind of surprising. Even in the next match, Sasha versus Alexa, which I really enjoyed this match, too, and I would have rated it higher had it had a definitive ending. But obviously, this was designed to continue their match and their feud heading in SummerSlam, and it went exactly as I predicted. For the most part, I thought that Alexa would walk out with the title, and Sasha would end up getting a rematch at SummerSlam. So during this match, there was a spot where Alexa popped her arm out of place. Obviously, she's double jointed, but it was kind of creepy looking, and it was a pretty cool spot. I enjoyed that. Actually, I got a kick out of that. There was a nasty back bump on the apron by Sasha, and throughout the match, Alexa was just working the back on Sasha. Sasha almost won with the bank statement, and then eventually Alexa Bliss, she actually had like a Canadian Destroyer too, or a sunset flip on Sasha Banks in the match, which was pretty impressive. The crowd even popped for that. But it ended up with Alexa Bliss getting counted out. Kind of a shitty ending, but that's okay. Then they start fighting up the ramp. They go to the announce table where Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Booker T, where they were out there by the apron, by the Timetron. And they're fighting on top of the announce table. Alexa Bliss falls off the table, and then Sasha dives onto her. Pretty nasty stuff, and we see some more blood there as well. Then we had The Miz versus Ambrose in the Intercontinental title match. This was a lot of fuckery going on when you had the Mr. Raj and Maurice getting involved in the match. Didn't really care about this match too much. It was about 2 stars for me. Definitely below average. Definitely these guys are definitely capable of pulling out a better match. Obviously, when you have the heel tendencies of The Miz, where you have these guys all around. Obviously, Ambrose put up a good fight, but ultimately too many distractions led to the skull crushing finale, and The Miz retains his title. And that's fine. I thought he would retain the title. I don't know what's next, if these guys are going to continue forward as well, or if we're going to see maybe Miz versus Finn Balor, Miz versus maybe a multi-man match at SummerSlam. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do see Cass getting that title soon, or maybe Elias Sampson. So maybe we could see the Miz drop the title to somebody and transition to giving it to Cass or whomever. Then we had, to me, by far the greatest match of the night. Honestly, by far, I really did enjoy Cesaro and Sheamus versus the Hardys, as well as Sasha and Alexa, but this was a really fun match for me. It was Strowman versus Roman in the ambulance match. I rated 3.75. 4 stars if you include everything that happened afterwards, because that stuff was awesome. During this entire match, Braun was just manhandling Roman around, as you would expect. They fight up the ramp. At some point, Roman throws Strowman, so many Romans, throws Braun through the the Titantron graphic. That was pretty impressive. And then, of course, a lot of ambulance spots. But the match ended, and I thought this was great. I literally laughed out loud when I saw this. Roman Reigns went for a spear. So to kind of paint the picture, if you didn't watch the show, so you have the ambulance, you have the back door of the ambulance open, right? You have Braun Strowman standing in front of the door there. So Roman was going for a spear to spear him into the ambulance, but Braun just moves out of the way. Roman jumps into the ambulance and he just shuts the door. It was great. It was pretty funny. He celebrates afterwards, but then afterwards Roman attacks him, throws him in the back of the ambulance, drives off. You see him have this weird look into the rearview mirror of the ambulance, and then he backs the ambulance up into a semi-truck with Braun Strowman in the ambulance. Obviously, he wasn't actually in there, and it wasn't Roman actually driving the ambulance. It was some footage that they cut and paste, but still, it was awesome. So Afterwards, Roman gets out. Angle's there, and everyone's freaking out. They're trying to get Strowman out of there. So then we cut to the next match of the night, which I don't really count towards the show, really, because we didn't get to see it. But I rated it 1 star just for the sake of rating. It was Heath versus Hawkins, Heath Slater versus Kurt Hawkins. As soon as this match started, we cut back to the ambulance and the crash site, and we hear over from the announcer JoJo that Heath Slater won. We have no idea how he won, but Heath Slater wins, so that's cool, good for him. And we cut to these like firemen trying to bust into the ambulance. They finally get it open. You see Braun Strowman just a bloody mess, just absolutely destroyed. They try to get him on a gurney, and they try to get him to the hospital. But he keeps refusing. He keeps pushing people out of the way. He's crawling, scratching and crawling on the cement ground. Kept falling down. I kept cringing. I'm like, this guy's going to burn himself on the cement floor if he's not careful. And he ends up crawling out on his own accord. And you kind of just see him cut to the camera, and he's just looking at the camera, and he's got this blood all over his face. Kind of a scary sight. But this begs the question. So this was awesome. All of this was awesome. I love it. This is probably Roman's best feud ever so far, in my opinion. I really enjoyed Braun versus Roman. Their feud has been awesome. But it begs the question, was this a double turn? Is Roman a legitimate heel now? Is Braun a legitimate babyface? How can you boo a man? Not necessarily how can you cheer for Roman. That's a whole different story. But how can you boo a guy who wins a match? He wins it cleanly. He wins it fair and square. Gets attacked afterwards, thrown into an ambulance, crashed into a semi-truck, nearly dies in a bloody mess, scratches and crawls his way up, and gets up on his own 2 feet with his own willpower and walks out a bloody mess. You can't boo a man that way. That, to me, you can't boo that guy. That guy is a babyface, bottom line. As far as Roman goes, I mean, he's been having heel tendencies since forever. Since Mania, really. Ever since he beat The Undertaker, he's been slipping some heel stuff every now and then. It's just hard to believe that they'll actually go with him being a heel since they've ignored it for so long. But it's just weird. How can you boo Braun Strowman, after that? To me, that makes him a courageous hero, But that was awesome. That was definitely awesome. And then we had the main event of the evening, Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. Not a bad match. This was a good match. I rated 3.25, definitely above average. I enjoyed the action right before the match. They go straight away. Samoa Joe attacks Brock. He does an Uranage through a table. The table just explodes. It was great. During the match, Joe low-blowed Brock when the match started, and he tried choking Brock out several times. Throughout the match, Brock hit several German suplexes. I believe the number was 6 or 7, maybe 8, and ends up winning with the F5. But the match was Samoa Joe got so close to beating Brock. He was almost on the verge of passing out. His face was purple, bright purple. Brock gets him on the shoulders, hits the F5, and wins the match. Now, the controversy is a lot of people are upset with the fact that Brock won with just one F5. Maybe he should have kicked out of the first one. Maybe he had to hit a second one. Who's to say? I'm fine with it personally. I thought the match was good. I thought that Brock made Joe look really good in this match. Joe got a lot of offense in. He looked like a killer. He looked like he could hang with Brock. And I think that's important. Does this mean that their feud's over? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. So apparently Roman, he claimed that he's gonna be in the title match at SummerSlam, but he lost the match against Braun. He did lose, and attacked Braun afterwards. And Braun escaped the ambulance in a bloody mess. They're not over it. He's not finished with him yet. So are they going to go into SummerSlam again, those two? Is it going to be a triple threat match? Is it going to be a fatal 4-way match? I don't know. I guess we'll find out Monday night. But if Samoa Joe isn't in the Universal title picture, and I begged this question in my predictions, which is why I thought he was going to win, so that maybe we could set a fatal 4-way match, or maybe a triple threat match, or even just a one-on-one match so Brock can just get off television for a little while. What's next for Samoa Joe if he doesn't win the title? I don't know. I mean, you could, I guess, do Samoa Joe versus The Miz. Even though it's heel versus heel, he could be added to a multi-man match for the Intercontinental title or for the Universal title. He could feud with Finn Balor again. I know it's been done so many times. We could see Samoa Joe versus Seth, although I don't think Seth and Bray Wyatt are quite done yet. I don't know what would be next for him. I mean, there's no really other baby faces with nothing to do, unless he goes up against like Apollo Crews. But that's a huge demotion for Joe, going from the Universal Title match against, no offense to Apollo Crews, but to Apollo Crews, who's just kind of there. So I don't know what's next for Samoa Joe. Maybe they'll have like a number one contenders match at SummerSlam for the title. Maybe him versus Braun Strowman could be a match, even though they're both. Well, I guess technically Braun's kind of a face now, but that would be a fun match. Joe versus Braun. I don't know though. I guess we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe Joe versus Big Show. Maybe we see Enzo versus Cass one more time. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I gave that match 3.25 stars. Overall, I give it a thumbs up. 3.25 stars all the way for the entire show. Definitely above average. Exceeded my expectations. Now, this wasn't the best show of all time, obviously, out of 5 stars. 3.25 may not sound that great, but I thought it was a good show. It's definitely above average. Some of the finishes kind of hurt the overall show, in my opinion. When you had a great women's match, I thought the match was awesome, and the fact that it ended in kind of hurts it a little bit. But still, overall, an enjoyable show. Interested to see what goes on from here to SummerSlam. What's going to happen? What feuds we're going to see happen? What matches we're going to see happen? Who's in line for the title matches? I firmly believe that we're going to see the Hardys versus Cesaro and Sheamus one more time. I think we'll see probably Miz and Ambrose one more time for the IC belt, even though I think it should be someone else. Anyways, guys, in the comment section below, I want you guys to let me know what you guys thought of the show. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing more, of course, wrestling reviews throughout the week. We got Raw and SmackDown this week. Possibly doing NXT and 205 Live review this week. We might start doing that, as well as some other stuff. But anyways, guys, until next time, I am the Maverick Mark Daniels. Bidding you farewell, peace, and one love.